Hi, I'm Streaky, this is Metropolis Mastering, and this is
Shay
from
ACM.
And today we're discussing something that was in a comment in one of the videos. It was on, I think, a compressor video, which makes sense. And it's how much do you compress something, or do you not compress things? Because mastering, everything's kind of already come to you and it's super compressed and it's really loud, and a lot of the time anyway, and a lot of bus compression has already been done. So really with mastering, you're trying to open it up and make things, you know, more dynamic. So it led us on to thinking, okay, well, a good answer for that question is it's more about flavors that we use. So flavors, and that's the same with mixing and recording as well. So when I say flavors, it's just running through certain types of equipment to get a certain sound out of that bit of equipment.
Using a certain thing, plug-in or piece of equipment just for the sound of it, rather than to tweak on.
Rather than using it for its purpose,
yeah,
it's using it for its electronics.
Yeah, for its tone.
Yeah, tone. Nice. And so I do that all the time. I've got a few pieces of equipment here. I've got one there which is called a Summit Warm Interface. And I've got a Manly, I've got an Avalon, I've got a Sontec, and sometimes I don't use any settings on them whatsoever. All I'm doing is just running through just to get a sound and a feel, and it does add a lot to the sound. Yeah,
especially when you're dealing with things like tubes, like the Avalon. Just running through a set of tubes and running through the circuitry of it without actually tweaking anything, you get like a tone.
Yeah,
and a sheen.
I tend to do that more than I compress.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with the Sontec, sometimes it's an amazing EQ, but sometimes I don't want any EQ. I just want that kind of, it's just a feel thing, and it's a kind of, I've got like another compressor there, which is a Neumann, an old cutting lathe Neumann compressor, and it's weird because it does give you a 70s cutting vinyl sound. Well, obviously it would, because everybody went through that. But
that was the sound.
Yeah, and so it's great if you've got guitars. You put a guitar track through it. It gives you that kind of edgy 70s sound, which is really cool. It's not very bassy, but it's very, raw sounding. I would say,
especially with vocal as well.
Exactly.
Really present sounding.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's just running through it.
Yeah. And so in the plug-in world, because I guess a lot of people watching these videos are plug-in people rather than outboard. So if you're in the box, when I first got a load of UAD plugins given to me for free, and I got used to using the Pultec within there as just running through that in the same way, and that was great. In the end, I ended up having it on everything. Yeah. In a similar way that some of the stuff I have on everything as well. It just gave me that, I don't know, it just gave me a little sound that I liked, and it gave me a sound of my own, which I was really enjoying for a while until they took the plugins back. I've got them again, but now it's overkill. Yeah. But do you have any plugins?
Yeah, same UAD, like the UAD Neve, I think it's the 88RS strip. That just having that on. I run synthesizers through it when I record synthesizers. So I run like as a Unison preamp plugin, run the synthesizer just through that, and just having it on. There's no settings on there or anything. There's no compression going on. It's just on, and I use the gains from that rather than the gains from just the straight interface gains. And it just gives like a tone. Same with vocals for recording. It's just having something running through. But then for mixing, again, the slate stuff. If it's like a desk emulation, you're not really tweaking many settings on it. You're just having it as a sheen over something, and you don't really notice it on single elements, but when you've got it on every single element in the track, and then you bypass all of them and then put them back in again.
Can it be overkill though if you've got it on everything, or is it just the same as running through an old mix desk?
Pretty much, yeah. It's only overkill if you start tweaking all the settings in it. If you start driving everything, so on every individual channel you can definitely hear a difference. When you listen to them all together, it's just overkill. Is there any phasing issues when you do that or not? Not really, no. I mean, no. As long as what you're mixing is in phase with each other. Like say if you've got like your snares not in phase, you need to.
Your snare's not in phase.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your snare's not in phase. Like if something's not in phase, then it's whatever you put on it afterwards, unless you're flipping the phase. Yeah. It's going to be out of phase. So yeah, as long as the mix is fine beforehand, just having these little emulation plugins on, the tape emulations, really good. Yeah. But yeah, you find if it's a plugin that's modelled well, or modelled by a company that is like the 1176s, really good plugins. The LA2A, that can just be moving slightly on the needle for a vocal going through it, but it gives you the sound of that old compressor. It just gives you the sound of the guts of that compressor.
Yeah.
And just like how you're using, like as you say, like a lot of people watching these videos will be plug-in people that probably wouldn't be able to get like a Sontec EQ just straight out the box.
No, it's pretty...
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, you'll be able to get something that would mimic that kind of sound, and just having it on to get that kind of sound is on, say, 4 or 5 different things within a track. If you're mixing it, you're going to get like that sheen and that sound without having to tweak much beforehand.
Yeah.
Rather than just going straight away and going, right, what do we need to do? Right, EQ, compress, EQ, doing loads of stuff to get a sound. Just put something on it, just run it through it, and if it's recorded well or it's produced well, you're going to get like a nice sound, and it's going to still be sort of loyal to the original sound.
Yeah, I think also if you've, it's a good point to make sure that you've got the highest quality D2As when you're doing this, because you need to be able to hear what those sounds are doing. A lot of people don't think about their listening environment. I know I always bang on about it, but the D2A, the cleaner that is and the nicer that is, you're better off spending your money on a really good D2A that you can then really hear the plugins. And you can hear exactly what they're doing, because I tend to find that the clearer I can hear things, the less I do.
The less you do with plugins and stuff.
So with a D2A,
yeah,
we were discussing earlier D2As that we liked.
Yeah.
A lot of people are talking about the Solaris for
Crane Song.
Crane Song, yeah. And you
Dad.
were talking about the Dad stuff, yeah.
Was it Denmark something?
Audio Designs.
Oh, there we go. There you go.
Probably
Denmark
wrong.
Audio Design.
I use Prism Dreams here, but make sure that you can. It's worth testing D2As out.
Definitely.
Because if you're in the box, that's your main listening device. Don't just go for the standard D2A. You'll hear a huge difference when you get something that's even £1,500, for example.
I mean, just like you say, we're talking about things that go in just through it. The D2A is probably the most important thing that you're just going to be going through, because that's all it's there for.
Yeah.
So
make sure it's clean. Make sure that it clocks well, and it's and you can actually hear what you're doing. It's so much more important.
I mean, a lot of people don't know that like a MacBook, for instance, if you're on a MacBook making a tune with headphones in, you're using the MacBook's D2A.
Yeah.
Whereas if you plug something in, sort of Firewire or like Lightning, is it Thunderbolt? Thunderbolt. Yeah. Like the UAD interface, like I use an Apollo. If I've got that plugged in, I can change quickly the audio interface so I can hear the difference between the two being played out, and the difference is night and day.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't notice that unless you've actually physically gone out and tried it.
Yeah.
So like trying loads of different audio interfaces, even if they're sort of considered budget ones, like the Focusrite, the Sapphires, they're dedicated D2As, like they're dedicated A to D and D2A converters, rather than your MacBook is not a dedicated D2A.
I also think if you think that you can't afford a good D2A, forget that. Just go and listen to one that's at a higher level, because until you've tasted that, you're going to settle for a lower, cheaper one.
Yeah.
And I know you think you can't afford it, but you can always afford things that you actually want.
You get finance.
You'll
nowadays.
find a way.
Yeah, you'll find a way.
You'll get finance. You'll borrow it off your gran, whatever.
Yeah.
But push yourself to get something a little bit higher, and then you'll know what you're listening to, and then you'll be able to get a cleaner sound and a better sound for all the stuff you're producing.
Yeah, once you've heard what it can do, it's one of those things that you don't appreciate until you've physically gone out and dedicated listened to it. Like when I bought that Apollo interface, one of the first things that where I bought it from, was it Source Distribution? I think it was Source Distribution. The first thing he said to me was just listen to it first. Just listen to it. So I plugged it in, changed the audio interface. So it was MacBook, built-in output, and then UAD Apollo, switching between the two. Just listening out of like a Logic project, and it was honestly night and day. And it was like all the things that I'd thought that track would have needed, didn't need now, because it was the D2A that was making it sound like, wow, it's all 3D and different. And I mean, just bounce tracks out, built-in output out of Logic or Pro Tools or Ableton, and then bounce the same track out using a different D2A, and listen to what the difference is just by bouncing out of that, like in real time. It is literally night and day, and that's the main running through piece of kit that you can get, to be fair. Yeah, and anything's better than nothing. Do you know what I mean? Even the budget ones are better than just the standard MacBook. Yeah,
I agree. Totally, big time. But always try and push yourself for a higher level. To be honest though, I think now with the chips and stuff, a lot of the the cheaper stuff, you know, when I say cheaper, I'm talking between 1,000 and 2,000 rather than the 5 to 10,000 range. I think the difference is a lot closer now. So, but I think there's still quite a bigger difference between 200 and 1,000. So you're better off pushing to say 1,000, 1,500 to 2,000 to get and using one of those rather than. I don't think you need to spend 5,000 or 10,000 unless you've got the workload and you've got the the budget just to fanny about.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like then you're in a kind of really fine tuning just to a taste thing. I think you can get really good stuff for between 1,000 and 2,000.
Easy. I mean, for
but if you're going for 200 quid, it's going to be a bit. It's it's not.
It's going to be better than nothing, but it's not going to be as good as push into that grand. I mean, for a grand nowadays, you can get some really good converters, some really nice converters. I mean, for $2,000, say, like you're looking at prisms you can get for $2,000 pretty much now, can't you?
Yeah.
Like is it the Alpha? Not the Alpha, the smaller one, Lyra.
Lyra,
yeah. For a couple of grand, you can get one of those, and it's just the sound is incredible.
Yeah, amazing.
The sound is brilliant.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
They were quite different. I'll tell you one thing that I had Apogee Rosettas. You can get those quite cheap.
Yeah, of course you can.
They sounded great. I had that against the Prism in here, the Prism Dream. It was really close.
We tried loads that day.
And we were literally blind testing. So everyone would go, oh yeah, the Apogee is cheap, rubbish compared to the Prism Dream. We were literally blind testing and it was so close.
I love that old Rosetta.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was really good. And I mean, back in the day, they were considered really good. They were everywhere. Yeah. Every mix studio, every recording studio, you saw that sort of purple rack.
Well, they've got a certain sound to them. They're not as creamy as the Prism Dream.
They're clinical sounding. They're quite clean sounding, which is really good for recording.
Which is great. Yeah. So catch one of those if you can.
500 quid pretty much. You can probably get a Rosetta for
easy.
On eBay.
Yeah, that's worth it. Okay, well I hope that's helped. That's how you get colour. Make sure you can hear that colour, otherwise you're going to over-colour. Thanks for watching. I've been Streaky.
I've been Shay.
Please like, subscribe, press the bell so that I can annoy you. And until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.